Do you want to know some amphibians' dirty, scary facts? Well, I'm going to tell you whether you like it or not. Did you know that some amphibian skin is very thin and porous? And this means that they're constantly soaked in bacteria and other nasties. Oh, and many of them are extremely poisonous. Even their skin is poisoned to the touch. They can be pretty gross and dirty creatures, and some species can give you a nasty infection if you're not careful. Sometimes they can even carry parasites that can make you sick. And some amphibians even secrete toxins that can be dangerous to humans if you eat it or if it's absorbed through the skin. If you're planning to handle an amphibian, you better wash your hands really thoroughly after. Amphibians can live on both land and water. Did you know that? I like to call them the Goldilocks of the animal kingdom, since they can live in both land and water, not too hot, not too cold. Amphibians are kind of like the bridge between land and water animals. Also, they don't have scales like fish or reptiles, but they have moist skin. That's so weird, right? And that's not all. Holy cow, did you know that many amphibians also have skin-to-skin breathing? That's incredible. Some true airheads indeed. There are almost 7,000 different species of amphibians. Isn't that incredible? I'm pretty eager to meet them all if I could. Since they're widespread, there's always an opportunity to have a close-up look at one. But they usually avoid living in extremely cold climates because they require warm environments to exist. Now, have you ever divided up some of your projects into various groups? Maybe you arrange your clothes by color or categorize your video game collection. Animals and other objects are kinda studied like that in the same way by scientists. All animals, including humans like us, share some traits. They're biological entities. To live, move, and develop, they all require food and energy. They also produce more of their own, which results in the birth of offspring. Animals are super different from each other despite sharing many traits. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can tell that an insect isn't a fish when you see one, like a mosquito or a butterfly. And I'm sure you know the difference between cougars and snakes. Because of all these variations, all creatures are categorized or divided into distinct categories. Mammals or furry animals are examples of several of these specific categories. Reptiles are animals with scaly, dry skin. Fish live in water and have gills, and birds have feathers and wings. Warm-blooded, cold-blooded, vertebrate, invertebrate, living on land, living in water. All of these are some more divisions into which animals can be divided. What about us humans? Humans dwell on land. We require oxygen to breathe, which means that even if we try to swim, take a shower, or jump in the ocean, we definitely can't live and survive there. We gotta stay on land to survive. But then, on the other hand, we have fish. They can only exist in the sea, and they can't live on land like us. You might not know, though, that some creatures can dwell on both land and in water. And now I'm talking about the amphibians. The name for amphibians in Greek actually means double life or two lives. So does that mean I can call Batman an amphibian for his double life? That makes sense, right? Alright. There are approximately 7,000 different kinds of amphibians, which are animals that can live both on land and in water that exist today. Can you name any of these amphibians that you might be familiar with? Let's think about some animals that are green and slimy as a hint. Did you think frogs, toads, salamanders, or newts? You got it! Those are amphibians! Most likely you already have some knowledge of frogs and toads. But did you know that both of those come in a wide variety of forms? Have you ever heard of the poison dart frog or the American bullfrog? How about the tomato toad or the American toad? Did you know that the world's toads and frogs come in about 2,000 different species? Makes you wonder where they're all hiding, I guess. Now I know, it can be simple to confuse a frog with a toad at times. Here's how to distinguish between them. Toads have dry, bumpy skin and short legs as adults because they prefer to stroll around, while frogs have smooth, moist skin as adults and longer legs. Despite the differences between toads and frogs, both are classified as amphibians because of these similarities. So what actually qualifies an animal as an amphibian, right? The answer is pretty straightforward because they all share the same traits, like webbed feet. Like you and me, they're also considered vertebrates because they have backbones. They have substantially smaller backbones than we humans have, though. And there are several traits that all animal groups share. Some of those traits apply to the other groups as well, similar to how both humans and amphibians have vertebrae or backbones. However, since humans have warm blood and amphibians have cold blood, the body temperature of an amphibian fluctuates. It's like trying to heat up a house with the windows open. Their bodies adjust and reach a temperature of 15 degrees Celsius if the air or water where they live is at that temperature. And if it's 4 degrees Celsius, they'll adjust. That's not the same as what it's like to have warm blood. We humans have warm blood. That's why no matter the outside temperature, our body's internal temperatures are usually around 37 degrees Celsius. Only when we're sick and the temperature fluctuates a little, that's the only time it changes. The fact that they spend some of their life on land and some in the water is another cool characteristic of the amphibian group. They have gills that allow them to breathe underwater, exactly like fish do. They later develop legs and lungs, unlike fish, which helps them live on land. What else is cool about them? All amphibians are hatched from these fragile, jelly-like eggs. They undergo a process known as metamorphosis, which essentially means that they morph or transform into something different over time. When amphibians are first born, they resemble fish with tails and gills, and then a little while later, they develop into tadpoles with 2 legs. These tadpoles undergo another transformation and they get an extra 2 legs and a tail. They kind of resemble a miniature frog, but with a tail instead of legs. And then over time, they mature into a fully adult frog. Despite the fact that amphibians have similar traits, frogs and toads lose their tails as they get older. But then why do newts and salamanders keep their tails when they grow old? So imagine newts and salamanders look like lizards without scales. They're both smooth-skinned and have 4 legs. A Sicilian is a different kind of amphibian. They don't have any arms or legs. They dig through the mud with the help of their sturdy skulls and pointed noses, and they kind of look like snakes or worms if you can imagine it. They even look a little scary though, especially considering that some of them can reach lengths of over 4 feet. Amphibians call a variety of different ecosystems their home. They can be found near or in damp or moist places like marshes, ponds, lakes, woodlands, meadows, and streams. Now they love eating spiders, beetles, and worms. Some frogs can catch flies, moths, and other insects by flicking their long, sticky tongues. They also come in different sizes. The Goliath frog has a maximum length of 38 centimeters and a maximum weight of 3 kilos. That frog is the size of my cat. And then we have the tiniest frog in the world, which is just about 1/3 of an inch long. And then on the other hand, we have the Chinese giant salamander, which could grow to a length of 1.8 meters and a weight of 63 kilos. That's the size of a full-grown human. Would you want to see that in a swamp? Nah bro, I'd be running away, thank you very much. But really though, amphibians are fascinating creatures with some interesting facts. Did you know that frogs eat their meals whole and that some salamanders keep their gills? There's still so much more to learn about these amazing animals. And for the love of florists, check out some of these amazing critters we call amphibians the next time you're around some water. As we learned today, they're so cool, so dope. Now, stop being a boggart and pass on these digital edibles by sharing this video. Thanks!